Hello, everybody, and welcome to our get-together session today. Before I start, as always, a quick sound check. It would be great if you could confirm with a quick hello, a quick yes in the comments box. So that confirmation would imply that you hear me. Therefore, you see me, you hear me, technology is ready, and therefore we can begin. So very quick, please, if you could confirm this little sound check with a quick yes, a quick hello. That will help me know that we are well connected and we are ready to start. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Very good. Well, in the meantime, hello again. Today is February 5, 2019. My name is Jose Blasco. I'll be your guide, your lead trading expert in the session for today. We'll be talking about the AutoUFOs. We'll be looking at short-term opportunities. We'll be planning trades. We'll be executing trades. Actually, as we start, I have a trade running here, which it's giving me a little bit of a hard time. We'll talk about it because I got executed in this trade and keeps bouncing between the red and the green, not really moving. You can see here the dot. That was my entry. Okay, now sticking to the plan, discipline. It's obviously a key ingredient for a trader, so I'm just sticking with the plan and we'll see what happens. I'm pretty sure that in a few minutes we'll know the result of this trade, and I will also explain the rationale because I got a screenshot from before I took the trade, so we can talk about it from a training or from a rational point of view. We will be able to talk about all of this, okay? But before we start, now that I see that you hear me and everything, how are you guys? Nice to see your names. Nice to see some of you that in a regular basis we're in touch via emails and so on, so it's great. Anyway, so before we start, disclaimers, and we jump straight into the session, okay? Let's go for it. Following videos, clips, and demonstrations are for educational and instructional purposes only. Tradictive provide these videos purely for the purpose of demonstrating a method of using the product. Users understand that all the content used in the video is purely for demonstrations purposes only and is not a guide and does not provide any indication or prediction of actual results. As a user, you understand and agree that hypothetical results obtained through the demonstration do not indicate in any way the results you may receive on using our products. Here we go. So we got the disclaimer out of the way. And now we can, I just closed too many windows in one shot here. Here we go. We can now focus on the trades, etc., etc. Also, just to give a little extra time to app users that may not be with us yet because they're still in the process of connecting, very quickly here, a few key websites for you to be aware of. Tradewithufos.com. Obviously, this is our website, isn't it? And the reason why this website is because we have the Get Together button. And when you click on Get Together, you get to access the whole calendar of online sessions that we do. Okay, so that's pretty important. Okay, this week we are meeting on the 5, the 7, and the 10. So we are meeting Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Okay. By the way, probably that February 12 date probably will change, probably to the day after, February 13. I would say it's going to be likely. Okay, but I'm not sure yet. So keep an eye on that. Anyway, what else? The guide is super important that as you use the tool, you become familiar with the guide. We've seen it and we've said it a million times, and we'll say it a million times again because it's really important that you are well aware of the features and how the tool functions, if you wish, before you use a tool, especially if we're talking about a trading app, which obviously allows you to trade more efficiently, but also trading implies putting money on the line and therefore assuming risk. So important recommendation here, know the tool. Okay, so you either download the 9.5 version or the TradeStation 10.x version of the manual, or if you are a little in the lazy mode when it comes to reading manuals, if reading manuals is not for you, you can also watch those manuals in a video form. Okay, which if you watch those 5 YouTube videos, you go over calibrating, components and settings, ready to access and use the app, etc., etc. Those videos are, as you can see, 9 minutes and a half, 7 minutes 50, 11 minutes. So altogether, is less than an hour, and really it will make a difference. Okay, guys, so make sure you do that. Very quick as well, I want to point at our Facebook page, okay, which is www.facebook.com/tradewithufos, or also our LinkedIn page, which is linkedin.com/company/tradewithufos. And I would like to ask you all to, of course, assuming that you use those tools. If you don't use Facebook or LinkedIn, forget about it. But if you are a user of Facebook or LinkedIn or both, go ahead and click on the join or follow or the like button, so that way every time we add content to our pages, you are informed firsthand. Okay, so there is a lot of content that we post every day. For example, today we posted a trade here. It was a Forex trade with the euro, New Zealand dollar, and every single day we're posting trades. Okay, the day before we had a trade, also was Forex. It was intraday. So sometimes it's futures, sometimes it's options. Is that making sense? Sometimes it's intraday, sometimes it's longer term. But as a user of the app, it will really help you to see how other users are using the app, because this will help you very much to understand the app better, but also finalize your trading plan or tweak a few of the rules that you currently use in your trading. One more website important for you to know is our YouTube channel. Okay, our YouTube channel, it's important in the sense that all the content that we produce, we post it in it. Okay, and you can go back in time and you can actually review a lot of it. Okay, so we'd like to ask you all to not only subscribe, because that way you are a part of it. Okay, but apart from being part of it, very important that you click on the little bell, so that way every time we post something, you get an alert and you are updated on what's new. Okay, it's important in case we launch new versions of the app, so you are updated on the on whatever whatever enhancements are out there. Okay, the playlist here, we got all the get-together sessions. They are sorted by date and by type. So for example, on the 27th we got sharpening. On the 6th of January, we got sharpening. That day we talked about the trend. On the 27th, we were talking about options. Okay, so the content is quite organized. And of course, there is always room for improvement. So we also welcome your feedback. But the content is quite organized, and there are many long-term and short-term sessions, which we really recommend you to watch. So you are also connected with what we are doing, and you can also provide more and better feedback. And finally, if you connect with the Trading App Store and you type UFO on the search box, and then you click on the green button for search, you will now find it. Okay, let me go ahead and share the link. You will now be provided with a link to our AutoUFOs app within the TradeStation App Store. And this way, you can go ahead and subscribe. Okay, to subscribe, you just need to click the button and that's it, you're in. Okay, very simple. Okay, so I just added that information on your screen, so that way you have it and you can use it more efficiently. Okay, so anyway, back to our trade here. The trade is looking just a little better now, moving towards target one. But as we begin the day, of course, I am in this trade already, so unfortunately, timing is timing, and it will not be possible for you to have the same entry I had. But the trade is running, so I would propose that we talk about it from a rational point of view. So I get to explain why this trade classified as a trade and why we executed this trade, and then we can look for many more of the same type or other types of trades. But at least you get to have a proper understanding of why this trade was executed in this particular manner. Okay, so let me go ahead and bring up. The screenshot I got. Here we go. Okay, so here's the screenshot I got from before, which is the trade in which we are. But this is the time where the trade was taken, and this is how the market looked like. Okay, if you let me do this. I'm going to put this in here. If I make this very, very small, well, obviously you can see that there was this red UFO, okay, let me make it a little bigger. Hopefully everybody can see better. Something like that. So there was this red UFO here, okay, which is gone. Okay, the red UFO here is gone, and the reason why it's gone is because many of the unfilled orders that were identified, many of them have been filled. Okay, and you know that because look at how many candles since I got the purple dot here, which represents the entry. Look at how many candles has been hitting and hitting and hitting and consuming those unfilled orders, and every time it's been going down. So, I mean, thank you AutoUFOs, because thanks to the tool, we identify unfilled orders. Unfortunately, many of them have been filled. That was my little, if you wish, healthy complaint earlier when I said that this thing has been bouncing up and down between the green and the red, and when that happens in a market, many of the orders are being consumed, and that's not a good news because it removes a little bit the probability of the trade, and that's why the red UFO that was here is gone, because the probability of the trade is a little less. Okay, now we're gonna stick to the plan and be disciplined, and if we end up with a small loss, it's gonna be $150, and if we end up with a profit, it's gonna be the total profit would be 75 plus 225, so it's a total profit of $300. Okay, so we're in the trade. It's basically like a 2-to-1, and we are okay with the trade, so we'll just stick with the plan. But coming back to the screenshot, so you understand the rationale of the trade. So basically, what happened, if you look below, so what happened is that we were in an uptrend. All the projection and every one of the closing candles prior to the current time was closing above the moving average, but this candle, okay, the candle here, the candle before, that one closed below the average, and to be honest, it was just because of one tick. Okay, it was just a very, very slight close below the average, but you know what? This is the beauty of using computers and mathematics and mechanical tools, is that you have a decision process which is either black or white. Okay, and that's it. So it was below. It was a little bit below, but it doesn't matter if it's a little bit or a lot. It was below, and therefore we went from a mechanical uptrend to a mechanical definition of a downtrend. Okay, so what did you want to do in a downtrend? Well, you wanted to try to enter this trend and try to follow what may be a nice move from this red UFO to the green UFO as a consequence of a new downtrend developing. The red UFO was more or less lining up with the moving average. Okay, so if you recall some of the conversations that we had sometime in the past, the AutoUFO obviously is the most relevant tool in the sense that it shows you where the unfilled orders are in the market: green for buy, red for sell. But apart from the unfilled orders that are already available in the market, tools like a moving average or a Fibonacci retracement line or a Fibonacci projection, those tools, we talked about this in the past. If you have watched some of the recordings, I'm sure this will be familiar. These tools represent what could potentially be new unfilled orders added in the market by computers that trade those averages or fibs or other tools that are traded by computers. Therefore, this trade was a happy trade to execute in the sense that we were in a downtrend. The red UFO was more or less lining up with the average. So we went in. Okay, we went in. The beginning part actually was pretty nice. This thing started dropping from the UFO, as you can see, pretty strongly. We went one tick away from our first target. So reaching the first target would have been a risk-free trade automatically, because you unload half of the position at 1-to-1. If you look at the distance from the buy stop to the entry, which is the red sell, and the red sell, the entry, to the first target, which is the B for buy, it's the same distance, right? So if you unload half of the position at 1-to-1, and then you were to be stopped out, then you cannot lose, right? So we went one tick away from reaching this target, and from there, this is when this trade is a little bit in the challenging side, in the sense that, it went one tick away, as you can see, and then come back up, come back down, come back up, come back down, come back up, come back down, as it's happening at the moment. Okay, so also, of course, the market will be opening in 15 minutes. So is quite quiet. Also, no one in Asia is trading today. It's Chinese New Year. So this is less liquidity in the marketplace, and all of this together is what is probably producing these very sideways, kind of boring type of price movement, okay? But anyway, we are disciplined, sticking with the plan, so we leave the trade alone and let's see what happens, and we will learn from the experience, okay? And at least it gives me the opportunity to give you this explanation, because what we're going to do now it's to go ahead and look for more trades of this sort or other sort, and be ready to execute any other trade that may meet our rules, okay? So guys, as we begin, any question out there? Any comment, any question for today? Any question from prior sessions that you may have? Let me see, I have Fernando. Yes, Fernando, as I was saying, I know I totally understand your point. If you were to define the trend in using other methods, especially after all these price action is taking place, it's really looking like higher highs and higher lows, etc. But at the time where the trade was entered, remember I was talking about it a second ago, the prior candle here closed below the average, okay, and that was the definition for the downtrend. So we're in, okay, we're in the trade and sticking to the plan, okay. Now, one rule you may have, because now we had a close above the average, okay, one rule you may have, it's to close the trade, because now you are not in a downtrend anymore, so now you are more likely to be stopped out. And to be honest, that will make a great amount of sense, okay? But in these initial sessions, okay, since we started the year, I'm trying to keep it quite simple when it comes to the set of rules that we use, and therefore today I'm just going to stick with the plan. I'm not going to do anything. I enter a trade. I am committed to the plan. Yes, the trend condition has changed, and this could be a great reason to cancel the trade. But at the same time, I don't want to overcomplicate anything. I don't want to add complexity yet. We will, okay? We will add more. Maybe complexity is not the right word, because complexity is never too welcome, even though, it's a little bit of a utopia when someone tells you trading is simple or easy. Well, you don't want it to be too complicated, that's for sure, but at the same time, there are multiple things to understand to be a good trader. Is that making sense? So it's certainly not something that could be learned in 5 minutes, right? So we will go from more simple to more advanced. I will not call it complex, but certainly more advanced. And we will add more rules, okay? And get your point, Fernando. Good eye with this change of trend. If you were to tell me that, in your trading plan, with your mindset, with your experience, you would prefer to cancel the trade and end up with a $25 or $50 loss, or 75 instead of 150, I would totally understand that, okay? But again, I'm not going to change it. In my case, not today, okay? We will get more advanced as we go. We have many. If you allow me to do this very quick, so what we're thinking as well. If you look at the get together, I'm back to the get together here. In February, okay, come on, get together. Here we go. So in February, we have a sharpening session on February 10, and we have another sharpening session in February 24. Okay, we have 2 sessions, okay? Expect in the following months to have more. Okay, those sharpening sessions are the sessions where we will add more content when it comes to, let's call it theory, okay, theory on how to trade, and therefore techniques, tools, possibility for rules. We'll be talking about many things like that, okay? So be ready for it, and we'll become more and more experts one step at a time. For now, my priority today is to find trades, at least 1 or 2, and let them execute. Okay, we did a good job. By the way, anyone executed any of the trades that we planned the last week? I would love to know that. Yes, Mark, Conchipachai. So nice of you. Anyone executed any of the trades from the last week? They were both successful, and I'm not saying it to brag about it. I'm just a trader. Sometimes my trades will be profitable and sometimes they will not. So it's not about bragging about it, but you know, I would like to use these sessions for multiple purposes. One of them, of course, is to support you on how to use the AutoUFOs. But another reason to do these sessions together is also to help you grow your skill, grow your expertise. And this is something that cannot happen unless you practice with me. Is that making sense? So practice with me means that you decide if you want to use real money or paper money. Obviously, this is going to be your decision. You decide if you want it to be a big size or a small size. All of these will be your decisions. That's 100% for sure. But when it comes to practicing with me, I would really like to see some interaction in that sense, because that way you will get more relevant questions out of the practice, and you will end up, you know, with a much better understanding of what's possible in trading and with the app, okay, with the AutoUFOs. Okay, so if you are ever not too confident, comfortable, not too liking one of the trades I give you, of course, I 100% respect that, but it would still be great in my mind that you execute them in a demo account, in a paper money account, so at least you get the experience I try to transmit as we spend these short 1 hour sessions all together, okay? Cool. So anyway, so guys, I'm gonna leave this trade alone. Obviously, as you can see, this trade is challenging all the way. So 8 minutes from now, the market will open. So I'm pretty sure that even probably before 8 minutes, we know what's the end result of this trade. Because it's not looking too good, especially with the new green UFO that just formed, which is probably lining up with the average. So a change of trend, actually. We should have probably start planning trades on the other direction, okay? But I was talking too, so I cannot do all together at the same time. So what I'm going to do, because I got the trade running with the S&P, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change workspace. You probably remember from the last week, I got a workspace here I call the FIBO lab, and another workspace I call the EMA lab, right? So with the EMA, I'm just dealing with the trend, attempting to catch this trend with a short moving average combined with the AutoUFOs. And with the FIBO lab, I'm doing something a little bit different, where the concept is similar, where I'm trying to combine on-field orders in the market with potentially new on-field orders that may appear later thanks to FIBs. And that way stacking odds in my favor. Okay, so let's go ahead and plan a trade with the FIBO labs. Okay, and since the trade I have with the S&P, it's using a 2-minute time frame. Okay, it's a 2-minute time frame. So with the FIBO lab, I'm going to use the Nasdaq instead of the S&P, and instead of using a 2-minute time frame, I will look at the 15-minute time frame. And go from there. Okay, so remember, when doing the FIBs, we're gonna do projections and extensions, and we want to do projections and extensions using obvious pivot points. You know, obvious pivot points, turning points like that are like kind of like those very obvious V-shape type of turning points or inverted V-shaped turning points. And to make it even more obvious, so instead of using the 15-minute time frame, we could use the 240 or the 60. I'm going to go for 240, and to remove even more the subjectivity that may be available in the chart. Sometimes charts are easy to read, sometimes they are less easy to read. So one very good practice is to go ahead and change the style of the chart to line on close, okay, just so we can identify very easily, okay, those top and bottom, okay, those obvious turning points. Okay, obvious turning points. So I got 2 tops, 2 bottoms. I'll get 2 more. 1, okay, and 2. Okay, so if I do that, of course, now I'm gonna go ahead and go back to candlestick, okay, because the line on close shows you the close, and the tops and the bottoms are often the wicks, not the closes, okay? So that way, I'm going to be able to readjust. Notice how this candle goes lower. This candle goes higher. And the lowest candle here is this one. And the highest candle here seems to be that one. the lowest candle here seems to be this one, and the highest candle here, the highest high seems to be this high, okay? So now that I got my lines, I'm gonna move to the 15-minute time frame, okay? So I can draw my fibs more efficiently, okay? I could have drawn the fibs as well from the 240. Actually, that would be more consistent. I mean, it's the same thing in the end because the high is the high, the low is the low. So you can see it in both time frames, the 4 or the 15. Just happened to be that this market has been trending very, very strongly. You know, when the market is moving up and down and the swings are kind of wider, it's easier to draw the fibs than when we have a market like this, where the swings are kind of less wide. Is that making sense? But anyway, in the end, I'm going to look at those pivot highs and pivot lows, and I should be fine. Okay, so let's begin with the projections. I have my projection tool. I'm going to start projecting from the top. So I need bottom, top, bottom. Okay, so low, high, low. So I'm going to start from here. I'm going to also activate my snap mode. So that way I'm going to go exactly to the low, and then exactly to the high, and then exactly to the low. The moment I do that, I'm not sure I clicked in the right place. I don't think I clicked in the right place. Oh, no, I didn't. Here we go. Now, yes. So this should have projected. I got my projection line up there. Okay, so now I have my first projection. Okay. My second projection, I started with the low, the high, and the low. So now I'm going to start with the high, the low, and the high. Okay. Wait a minute. Just one sec. One sec. It seems to me that I may not have an. Oh yes, yeah. I thought for a minute this was the high of the candle, but now this is the Fibonacci tool that draws this line. Okay, so no problem. Good. So again, let's do now the high, the low, and the high. Okay. So we're gonna start with this one. This is the high. So we got the high, and then we go for the low, and then we go for the high. Okay. So the moment I do that, now I end up with those two projections at this particular price point. Okay, and if I zoom out a little bit, let me do this. Okay, so you can now see how I got my two projections above and my two projections below. Okay, again, when the market is trading more sideways, like it was last week when we got together, you kind of get these lines a little more centered, where now you can see current price is very close to the bottom projections and very far from the upper projections. Okay, this really depends on what happened before, because a projection, as the name suggests, is a projection. Therefore, if the market has been moving in an uptrend, as you can see, the projection to the upside is likely to be further up, and the projections to the downside further down. If the market is more sideways, then the projections are more kind of equal distance above and below. Good. Now that we got our projections, okay, now it's time to do the retracements. Okay, retracements, which in TradeStation is not called retracements, it's called, well, actually, yes, it's called retracements. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. So anyway, so what are we gonna do? Well, I'm gonna project to the downside, and I'm gonna project to the upside. So what is the last movement to the downside? Well, from this top to this bottom, right? So I'm going to project from this top to this bottom, okay? And then I'm going to project from the bottom to the top, which is the current price, which this one is going to be dynamic, because if this market keeps going higher, then I will need to project higher up, right? If the market stays there and goes down, well, that's going to be the high. So depending on where the market goes, those retracements or Fibonacci ratios may vary, okay? Now, as we have said before, when you do this in one time frame only, normally it looks quite messy. Okay, it looks quite messy because it's too many lines. But normally now, when you drop to the 15-minute time frame, okay, it really, really clarifies a lot, especially the moment you turn on the AutoUFOs. Okay, because now you're gonna see where the UFOs are, and you will be able to see if you have confluences with fibs or you don't. Okay, and so notice again, I'm gonna have to readjust my feed because as I told you, that one is dynamic. Okay, so now if let me undo the snapping mode now. So if this market goes down now and comes back to this UFO, okay, notice that I need to keep adjusting my Fibonacci as long as this market keeps moving. Okay, if the market starts going down like it was doing a second ago, order field, it seems that we got stopped out. Let me double check. Yes, we have been stopped out of this particular trade. Okay, and it's been a nice fight, and ultimately this close above the average. Okay, it gave us the indication that the trend has changed, and if I had planned a trade with the green UFO lining up with the average, okay, this could have been a beautiful long entry to make a profit to the upside. Okay, but again, I told you that I was very fine with that in the sense that at the moment my priority is to give you a limited amount of rules, focusing on the simplicity, and we'll make our trading more evolved little by little. Okay, just the market just opened 1 minute ago. Good. So anyway, coming back to, so look, I'm gonna turn off. One sec. So turning off. Believe it or not, the matrix uses a lot of computer resources, and so I'm gonna kind of shut it down by entering a wrong symbol. Because what's happening is that apart from conducting this session, I am streaming it in 3 places at the same time. Some of you are watching it in iZone, some of you are watching it with YouTube, and some of you in Facebook, and this is using a lot of my computer power, so that way I optimize my resources. Okay, so now you can see here now very well what I meant with keep adjusting the Fibonacci. Okay, this thing kept stretching, and therefore if this thing now retraces from current price, okay, back to our green UFO, and we want to take the trade with this UFO. Notice how this green UFO has no Fibonacci Fib line lining up with it. We got 2 lines very close to it, but technically speaking, they are not lining up. Therefore, it will not classify or qualify as a valid trade based on the set of rules that I am exploring at this moment in time, which is to have projections and extensions to the upside and the downside, and have as many confluences as possible with the UFOs, because those confluences, those situations, those scenarios where you got UFOs and Fib numbers lining up with the UFO, create an opportunity where potentially not only you have unfilled orders already, which thanks to the AutoUFO, but let me repeat myself, you on top of that, you have additional unfilled orders, likely to kick in the market thanks to computers trading those Fibonacci numbers. So based on this rationale, okay, and again, you need to keep updating this thing until the retracement is happening. Okay. So based on the rationale, this green UFO got nothing lining up. You got fibs above and below, but nothing with the UFO. Where this one here got 2 magenta lines lining up with it. Okay, and therefore we are talking about potentially unfilled orders, additional unfilled orders to be added, and therefore this one could be a valid trade. Okay, so we will leave it here for now. Okay, we will leave it here for now because we are from 94 to 40. We are talking about 54 points for the market to drop, and certainly this could happen in one day. But at the same time, it seems that we are a little too far to put time into planning targets and things like that. So I would propose to leave it alone for now. We can come back later and revisit it. Okay, and I'm going to switch to the EMA lab. So I'm going to plan another trade with the EMA lab. But before I do so, I would like to get some confirmation from you guys on the comments box. How is it going out there, my friends? Could you please confirm that you have been following the rationale and my prior explanation, and there is no confusion, there is no questions? And if there are, please, this is the time to type because I'm about to switch workspace and look for something different, and then we'll come back to this. Amine, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Pleasure to have you here. Yeah, very nice. Cool. Okay. Okay, I'm just reading your notes here, guys. Very good. So let's switch workspace. Okay, we're gonna move to the EML lab. Moving to the EML lab, and so what do we have? We start from the bottom. What do we have? The prior close was above the moving average. We said it before, but I'm just rephrasing it. We're rephrasing everything from a point of view of explaining the methodology. We are closing above the moving average, and therefore we are in an uptrend. The beauty of using a moving average is that no matter who I ask, if we're using these rules, everybody would conclude is an uptrend. There is no second thoughts. So the trend is up, and therefore you will want to be a buyer. Okay, but to be a buyer, we need to find UFOs. Okay, so we found the UFOs on the Nasdaq a minute ago. Now I want to see if we have UFOs on the S&P that are anywhere close. Okay. Well, unfortunately, we don't. Okay, the current price for the average is 7,727. This falls more or less here. Okay, and as you can see, there is nothing. Okay, there was one here before, as you saw. So it's a little bit of a shame that we missed it. Okay, sometimes I talk a little too much, guys. Yeah, so that was the trade, and following the rules, we could have had an entry. If I remember correctly, there was a green UFO more or less at this price, which was lining up with the moving average. So you can see that both in this candle or this candle, we went to test the average and back up. Okay, so the trend is evolving. Unfortunately, we cannot execute it in this time frame. Okay, at least not for now. So I will come back. We still have like 20 plus minutes to go to the end of the session. In a 2-minute time frame, that's time enough for new UFOs to be formed. So I will come back in a little bit, and maybe we'll find a trade on the S&P. So what I'll do in the meantime is I'm going to switch to a different market. I would like to look at the euro. Okay, the Forex market is a market which is amazingly relevant. TradeStation does not provide Forex execution, but TradeStation does provide Forex charts. Okay, so how many of you, by the way, are trading Forex? Because it's quite common among our users to use TradeStation to do the analysis, find the UFOs, plan the trade, get the prices from the chart for entries, take profit targets, etc., but then go ahead and execute using a Forex broker. Any Forex broker out there. So if anyone trades Forex, I would really like to know. Yeah, Mark, I hear you, my friend. The drawing of the fibs today was a little tricky, as I said, because there was very little price movement, okay, between those swings up and down. So it was a little tricky. So yes, please go ahead and rewatch it. That will help you. But also, I will plan more trades. So as I will repeat the process myself, hopefully this also will help you. Okay. So anyway, so here's the euro, and I'm gonna plan a trade on the euro. The only thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a couple of tweaks with the euro. I could certainly use the 2-minute time frame and the 15 the way I'm doing. But I would be more comfortable using something more like the 5-minute time frame and the 60, something like that. Okay, and the reason why is because spot Forex doesn't trade in a centralized exchange. Because the trading of Forex is not happening in a centralized exchange, that different brokers, including TradeStation, may provide slightly different data feed compared to other brokers, and therefore the prices I see on the screen right now, which is 114.23.6, if you guys are looking at the screen of another Forex broker, you may see a little bit of a different quote, okay? And you can also see in those tiny time frames how much of wiki action happens at times, and this basically makes our reading of the charts a little more, let's call it tricky, okay? I mean, nothing tricks AutoUFOs, if you wish, because AutoUFOs is not a human eye, it's an algo processed by a computer, and the computer is going to do what it has to do. So there is no trickiness or falling into any trap. But at the same time, it would still be clearer if you were to use something like a 5-minute time frame. You may end up even with more UFOs as well, which may allow you to identify more trade opportunities. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to move to the 5-minute time frame above and below. Because I increase my time frame a little, I will also increase my time frame below just by a little bit. Okay, I'll make it 60 minutes, which is a very standard time frame. And make sure when you do the fibs or you do the moving averages, you use standard time frames. Okay, when you do the UFOs, I mean, you could use any type of time frame. Last week, one of our traders was posting a trade example on our website using tick charts. Okay, so you can use tick charts, you can use volume charts, you can use weird time frames that TradeStation allows, like like the 90-minute time frame, for example, that no one uses, right? But for the moving averages and for other purposes, my recommendation would be very strong that you use classical time frames like the 60-minute, the daily, the 15-minute, the 5. Why? Because that way you have a greater probability that computers will trade those averages or fibs. Okay, remember, we are using that not only to make us mechanical, but also to make sure that we have an increased potential of on-field orders at our price levels where we buy or sell, by not only having on-field orders in the market, but also having this potential opportunity for new on-field orders to be added. Okay, so what do we have here? Well, with the euro, we have an uptrend. Okay, so the prior, as you can see, the prior candle had a close at 114.29. The average was 114.24, right? So we are in an uptrend since the prior candle, and we could be buyers, okay, when there is a UFO lining up with a moving average. Okay, now unfortunately the moving average is 114.23, which 114.23 is kind of like halfway in the white space between the UFOs. So really, even though these may move up because we have not only one but two UFOs, the reality is that the trend definition here, even though the trend is clearly defined, the problem is that it's quite vague to enter this trade because the moving average is kind of in the middle in between UFOs, and there is no room for price to move because you have the red UFOs close to the green UFOs. Okay, so even though I was attempting to plan a trade on the euro, certainly if I switch time frames, I may find a trade, but in this particular trade, in this particular time frame, 60 and 5, I found nothing. Okay, so I'm going to switch currency, and I'm going to move to another European currency, in this case, the Great British Pound. Okay, so let's see what we have with the Great British Pound, and you can see that we have a totally different type of price action, and this may be cool for us to plan on a trade. So again, looking at the bottom part of the chart, what do we have? We have a 60-minute downtrend. Okay, the prior closes are happening below the average, so I think there is not much to say here. The trend is down, right? And what do we have above? Well, above we have UFOs. Okay, so now the UFO we have here, okay, is lining up at 30.00. And what is the current price for the average? 30.08. Okay, so 30.08. Okay, 30.08 happens to be the extreme high of the UFO. Okay, so the extreme high of the UFO happens to line up with the moving average. So really, what's likely to happen is something like this. Okay, something like the prior candle, where the price came very, very close to the moving average, and from there dropped, right? And if you are waiting for something like here, where it pierces and bounces, right? Well, in this case, it may not happen. Why? Because we have a UFO prior to reaching the moving average, right? In the other hand, if I take this trade with this UFO, I just said it may drop without touching the moving average, but at the same time, if that was the case, I am not fully benefiting from those on-field orders, those potential and additional on-field orders that may kick in thanks to the average. On top of that, as this market goes back up, okay, this British pound is currently trading at 129.76. If the British pound goes back up, and reaches the UFO, this moving average will have moved a little bit to higher, right? Because the average is an average calculation of price, and if price goes up, then the average goes up, right? So in other words, right now the extreme is more or less the top of the UFO, but then maybe as the price reaches the UFO, if this thing, if this currency, the Great British Pound, was to keep going higher like this, then the moving average may end up trading, I don't know, somewhere in here, 130.11, something like that. I mean, we could certainly go ahead and, go ahead and come up with a mathematical calculation to anticipate what the average would be, okay? But, again, at this stage, I don't want to overcomplicate. So what I'm trying to say is that we should expect the average to go up, and up is somewhere in the middle. And therefore, now if you were to take the trade, you have the UFO, but you certainly don't have the average, okay? So what should you do in a case like this? And we had the same example, actually, last week. We had a very, very similar example as what I just described right now. Anyone, by any chance, anyone remembers? Would you guys like to type it in the comments box? Okay, if you're using IZON, you will need to leave the full screen mode so you can type and then go back to full screen mode. If you're using YouTube, you can just type on the comments box on the right. So what did I suggest to do last week when you have a case like that? Anyone remembers? I would really appreciate if you guys were to give me the answer, so that way I know that not only you are listening to me now, but you were also listening to me last week. That would be great. Not that I need to be the center of the world. This is not the case, but I really want to help, and part of helping means that I need to confirm you got it. Good. Very good. So some of you are giving the right answer. Very good. Perfect. I like to see this. Okay. So what was the right answer? Well, the right answer is merge those two UFOs and treat them, even though it's two. Okay. Kind of treat the line like it's one. Okay. Kind of treat them like it's something like that. Right? So if you kind of merge them, I just made this up, okay, guys, this is not what it is, what it was, but if I was to kind of merge them like this, well, now the moving average is going to be somewhere in between, and now if the UFO works without the average, then you get the trade and you don't miss it. If the first UFO fails, then you got the average helping you, and if it goes to the next UFO, you got even more extra help on top of it. So now you have a pretty high probability of seeing the trade work and move in your direction. So what am I going to do? Well, let me type it for you. Okay, I'm going to apply, this is a short trade. Okay, short trade. Expecting the GBPUSD to fall and continue moving in the direction of the current trend until reaching the next green UFO, which is much further down. Okay, that's the plan. That's a summary of what I'm thinking as I look at the chart. Okay, now to do this short trade, let me move this up. We'll change color so it's easily readable for you. So to be able to do this, we need to plan on an entry, a stop, and a target. So we'll need to plan of a stop. Okay, what if I'm wrong? We'll need to plan on an entry. Okay, we see a short entry. When do I enter? And then later down, okay, I'll need to identify targets. Okay, what if I'm right and it goes to my target? Okay, and also we'll add somewhere in the middle a safety target. Okay, so somewhere in between the entry and the final target, okay, we're gonna call this final target, somewhere between the entry and the final target, we'll have a safety target just to scale out some of the position out of the trade so we can remove some of the risk, okay? So let me go ahead and move the text this way, okay? So everything can be read easily, and you have the information on your screen in case you want to take a screenshot, okay? Good. So, well, stop. It's pretty easy. So we have 130, 17, 9, and 130, 26. So initially, and this is a tricky one, guys. So 130, 26, okay, 130, 26. Above that, you would say that should be your stop. Okay, let's call it 21. Okay. What's the problem though? Well, the problem is that I just told you before that Forex is a product that trades in a way that is non-centralized. And non-centralized means what? Well, non-centralized means that there is no bid, ask, and last. When it comes to charting, most markets that trade in an exchange give you information about the last. And what you have in the chart is the last, right? But in Forex, what you get by default is the bid. There is no last because no one registers the last because there is no exchange. So you can chart the bid or the ask. And by default, you get the bid. But when you stop yourself out of a short, okay, that's a buy order. Okay, that's a buy order. And therefore, what you need is the ask price because you buy from the sellers and the sellers are asking. So I'm going to have to temporarily move to GBPUSD.A. Okay, GBPUSD.A to get, and it's quite funny because with the ask chart, it's only identifying sell orders down here, but it's not identifying sell orders up here. So, you know, there is a little bit of a difference, okay? So I'm gonna have to look at, you know, obviously we have a top wick here, we have a top wick here, okay? So this is 130.27. So because I have no other reference, I'm gonna go for the worst case, and the worst case is the top of this particular wick because then above that I got, you know, the long candle, there is nothing above. So the top wick for this candle is the high 130.27. Therefore, just to make sure I don't get stopped out and I see the price of this currency go its way, instead of 21, I will want to use 27. Okay, but again, I just want it to be above, so I'm going to go for 28. Okay, and I'm using 4 digits for the pips, like I would do in futures, even though this is spot Forex and we got 5 digits. I am basically ignoring the last, okay, out of simplicity, also because this is trade station prices. You will be executing with a different broker, and there may be a little difference as well. Okay, so 130.28, that will be my stop. My entry is here, the round circle, which is 130.005. Let's call it 130. Now, my entry is to short, and when you short using the bid price because you sell to the buyers, and the buyers are bidding, right? And therefore, I'm just going to use 130.00, no problem there. And so this is a buy stop. The other one is a sell short, okay? And therefore, this trade is a trade with 28 pips of risk. So if this trade has 28 pips of risk, okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm bringing a calculator into the equation because 130.00 minus 28 pips, that is 129.72. Okay, so 129.72, 129.72. Okay, that's where I will place my buy order to take profits. That's my safety target. Okay, 129.72. This is kind of equal distance. Maybe that would be more visible. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exactly. So this is a little more visual now. The distance between my entry and my safety target and the distance between my entry and my stop are equal. So if I get into this trade, let's say with 2 lots, and I sell and I'll buy back one lot at this price at 129.72. Basically, even if I later get stopped out, I cannot lose in this trade. Okay, so now what I'm shooting for is my final target, and the question is, where is my final target? So I'm just gonna raise my chart to the upside. I don't see anything here below. Okay, I don't see anything below, which is a great news from the point of view of having a further target down. It's a great news. At the same time, it may be because of the case that the Great British Pound has been going down for a while, and the amount of candles I have loaded on the chart is 1,597, right? So I could do two things. I could increase the amount of candles to, let's say, 3,000, 4,000, but you may recall some of the sessions that we have done in the past where because of technology limitations, I mean, not that we don't like TradeStation, I personally love TradeStation, but because of technology limitations, because it works with 32 bits, if you load too many candles on the chart, you may run into problems where your TradeStation really slows down up to a point where you may freeze it when the AutoUFOs are running, because the processing power required is very strong, and 32 bits limit the amount of data that could be handled by TradeStation at the same time. So something that is quite of the same without risking freezing your TradeStation would be to look at a little bit of a higher time frame. Okay, so what I would like to do is look at, what if I look at the 15-minute time frame? Because if I look at the 15, let me do it again. If I look at the 15-minute time frame, well, we have a green UFO right here. Okay, we have a green UFO right here, which is where the price is bouncing from. You could certainly use this as a target, but this is the current price, so I would rather go for the next one, if there is another one. And the next one appears to be here at 129.21. Okay, so 129.21, this is the price I'm going to keep in mind. Okay, and my final target would be 129.21. Okay, this is where I want to buy, but remember, for this one, okay, just like what I've done for my stop, for the safety target, I haven't, because the safety target is just mathematically calculated. But for my final target, remember, I need to look at the ask price. Okay, guys? So 129.21, I'm going to load again the Great British Pound US dollar .A in a 15-minute time frame. And the moment I do that, I'm going to look at my 129.21, which nicely coincides with 129.21.5. Okay, so just out of not missing the trade, I'll call it 129.22, because remember, I'm using 4 digits in this case, so I'll do 129.22, and that's it. Okay, so I'll do 129.22, and now I am in a much better position here to execute this trade with certain level of success. Okay, if I was to be, I don't know how precise I will be able to be, but if I was to be very precise, it would be something kind of like that. Okay, your entry is right here, the red UFO. If price gets there, it's going to be coinciding with a moving average. Okay, and we have 1 hour for this to happen. Actually, in 1 minute time, the average will update, so we'll validate this plan, which I think it should be fine. Here we go. So we have 129.87. Actually, the plan now is better. Give me a second, guys. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. So the plan is now better. Why? Because if the average went down by a little bit, okay, 129.96. So if the average now pushes up, very likely it will reach 130.00. So now our entry is lining up with the average. Where earlier we said the average would be somewhere in the middle, well, now it's not the case. So you could actually now narrow down and focus only on one UFO for the entry. In any case, I'm going to leave it the way it is because since the proximity of those UFOs is quite close, I don't want to make it complicated, and I will leave it the way it is, which is also high probability, and the profit margin is nice. Okay, you're risking 28 pips to make, like 78, if I'm not mistaken. So it's an okay profit margin, and I don't see the need to reduce the risk because of lack of room for price to move. Okay, so I would just leave it like that. And obviously this UFO here that just formed, a nice one, and welcome to the screen, a new UFO. But at the same time, we are not going to use you, Mr. UFO 129.74, and the reason why we are not going to use you, Mr. UFO, is because you are not lining up with any of the averages. 129.74 is way down below here, far away from the average, instead of lining up with the average. Is that making sense? So we are just going to ignore it, even though it's there. And it could certainly work. It's a UFO, and we cannot forget that. But at the same time, you have a higher probability with the entry at 130. Okay, guys? So I'm about to go back to the equity markets to see what happened in the equities, and hopefully I can plan another quick trade before we go, even though it's time to conclude the session. Before I switch market, though, I would like a quick confirmation from you guys, so I know if everything was okay. Yeah, TraderX, I'm just reading your question now. Well, your question, which is about my question. So my question was, do you have any question? That was the question, right? So I just wanted to confirm if you guys were following the rationale I shared with you. Okay, instead of just giving you the figures and we go home, I just wanted to make sure you follow the rationale. That's all. Cool. Okay, so quick view. I'm just going to make a copy of this chart as well. Here we go. I'm going to make a copy of this chart. I'm going to add a vertical line where the current candle is, and I will minimize this. So if there's anything to review or change or cancel or anything, it will give me the opportunity to discuss in future sessions, okay? Okay, so minimize. Good. Now, so next trade. I'm going to go back to the S&P, so ESH19. ESH19. We'll go for the 2-minute time frame. And then in the bottom part, I'll be back to the 15-minute time frame, and we will be able to explore what's been happening. So I got 15-minute time frame below, 2-minute time frame above. So we are in the same situation, guys. Unfortunately, we are still in an uptrend. No new green UFO has formed, at least that I have seen while we were talking, and therefore there is nothing to be done, or at least I cannot plan anything for you at this moment in time, guys, with this one. Quick look at the Nasdaq, and if there is anything, we'll plan it. If not, we will conclude the session here. Yeah, so with the Nasdaq, let me do this. Here we go. So AutoUFOs are off. We go back to the FiboLab, reactivating AutoUFOs. Okay, and this thing has been moving since the opening time of the day. And remember, I told you this is a dynamic one. You need to keep readjusting. Okay. Well, notice how even after all this readjustment, this green UFO is still surrounded by fibs, but no fib is lining up with this UFO, while this UFO still got 2 fibs lining up with it. Okay, so it seems that patience is going to have to be our ally in this one, in this particular time frame, and we're going to have to wait for the Nasdaq to retrace much more until we get there. Okay, so I want to congratulate Fernando for his comment earlier. Very well spotted the uptrend, because definitely since the market opened, the uptrend kept expanding. And if this was your focus, okay, as you started your trading day, I believe that at least one trade, you would have been able to catch that at least one trade and profit in those smaller time frames that we saw earlier. But anyway, I didn't have that opportunity to plan it for you, and the short I planned ahead of time ended up being a good example from what trading is all about, where sometimes we profit, sometimes we lose. But unfortunately, I cannot show you a full evolution of a trade reaching targets, because today was not the case. Okay, so I will leave you now with a trade on the Great British Pound US dollar. If you don't trade spot Forex, you can certainly look at the British Pound contract in futures, and you should have a similar trade setup. So yeah, go ahead and do that, and we'll be in touch. Okay, guys, send us your emails. If you have any email, make sure you send it to us. If you have any question, make sure you send it to us. And if you were to execute any of our trades, make sure you let us know. And also for future sessions, if there is any trade that you plan before the session starts and you would like us to review it, we are also happy to take a look while we spend our time together in the get-together. Okay, so we're going to conclude the day. See you February 7th, that's Thursday, 9 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Of course, do the math if you're in a different time zone. We use the U.S. time zone because that's where Wall Street is, so we believe it's a good reference. But of course, we are all located in a different place in the world. Okay, so do the math so you join us at the right time. Okay, guys, see you on Thursday. A pleasure to have spent some time with you, and see you then. Bye-bye, my friends. Take care.